Hello, everyone. It's Professor Cruz again, and in this video is going to be very specifically about the research element of your final argument. So I wanted to show you guys some tips on how to navigate the databases and get some good research for your final arguments because that is a requirement of that assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get started on this. So as you'll see, when you get to Module 6, you know you have to do your final argument. It's a 3-minute video that you're going to post. There's going to be more information in a separate video about that. This one's particularly about the sources part of it. So you'll see in both the instructions for the actual presentation itself and this mini assignment where you turn in your 3 sources for 25 points. For your final argument, you need to research 3 peer-reviewed articles. Peer-reviewed means that these are academic articles where a researching professional has sent their article out to other people who have verified it, given notes, said it's good or not, and then before it got published. That's why we like that, because it's like this kind of way to keep the information authentic and make sure that it fully represents the particular topic that it's on. And so we're going to get these from the SPC databases. I don't want you guys going to the open internet for your sources for this argument. And they got to be published within the last 5 years, 2020 to present, because I want them to be topical and relevant to like the society we're in today, not 10, 20, 30 years ago. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to create like basically a references page for your 3 articles that are going to support the content of your argument. Okay. Now, when you want to go to find these in SPC databases, there's a lot of ways you can get there, but the easiest way is just to go on the home page. And you see this tab here that says like library and tutoring. You can click on that. And then you have your tutoring services, BrainFuse, workshop events, a lot of cool stuff you can get to from there. But the particular tab I want you to look at here is the one that says library services. And right here, what says search books, articles, and more in the online portal. When you click that online portal, this is the online library, the SPC databases, the different names that you'll hear this referred to. But this is what we're talking about when we tell you we want you to go through the online library. Now you'll see that there's library search and databases A to Z, databases by subject. There's a lot of options across the top, but I think it's easiest if you just search here. When you search in the big search bar, it searches everything we have access to, either in our physical spaces, online, etc. So you can do one search of all the databases. There's like 156 databases. We can search them all at one time. Now that can get a bit overwhelming if you don't know how to filter it. So the purpose of this video is kind of show you how to filter your results to get to something more manageable, right? Because for this example, I'm going to use capital punishment because that's not anybody's topic, and I don't want to do anybody's research for them. So let's say I just put in capital punishment. Now, what you see here, we got a long list of 848,816 sources. Now, I know we really got time to go through all that, right? So I'm going to show you some tricks of how we can cut this down into something more manageable that you can make, a 3-minute argument out of. First thing I want you to do is consider, one, don't put too much stuff in the search bar. Don't put the ethics of animal, testing and medicine, all that in there. It's going to be too much. Less is more. So I use the recognizable phrase that we know, capital punishment. Now I want to show you one of the first little librarian tricks that's going to be very helpful in your searching. We have a 2-word phrase here. When you have a multi-word phrase, you can put it into quotation marks. And what that does is that tells the system that you want to hold that phrase together. So when I do that and I hit search, look what happens to this number. We went from over 800 some thousand to 354, so close to 500,000 sources gone. What happened there? Computers and people don't speak the same language. When I said capital punishment, you probably knew what that meant. You've heard that. I mean, we'll be hard pressed to find somebody who doesn't know that phrase, right? But what I told the computer was search for capital and search for punishment. So, if you think about those little Venn diagram circles, you do a math class. On one search, they did capital, and one search, they did punishment, and in the middle was capital punishment. So what I did here is I just cut to that middle part and said capital punishment. Okay. And so it cut down a lot of stuff. Now, what I like to do is also go to advanced search, because I could add these little sub searches in here with these Boolean operators of and, or, and not. And means I want to search for this and that. So even though it's multiple things, you're actually reducing the output. This, you can do this or that. So capital punishment, or you might put, death penalty, because it depends on how the researcher wrote about it and how it gets tagged into the system, right? You can use not to exclude things like this, not that. So like if you see that there's something coming up in your searches a lot that you don't want. I don't remember the particular thing, but I was working with a nursing student a couple years back, and all this stuff from Australia was popping up, and it had to be like in the United States. So I showed her not Australia and kicked all that stuff out, helped us get to our search a little bit better. So it's pretty cool. Like these have cool functions. But capital punishment, and what are we really talking about in this class? Well, ethics. Okay. So now I could just try like capital punishment and ethics. And you see now I'm cutting down to like 29,000. All right. I could add a new line if I want to put something else in. Just be careful not to put too much stuff in. So like maybe I wanted capital punishment and ethics in the United States. Okay. And so we search that. Okay. And we lose a few thousand there because like maybe I want to look at. Now in the world of ethics, I mean, we could talk about something like capital punishment as like a global thing. But, just for the sake of showing you filters, maybe I wanted to do that. Now, this is a good test here for the United States, because sometimes the United States is a recognized term that the computer knows what you're talking about. Sometimes it helps, again, if you try the quotation marks on it, so we can run another search with the quotation marks and see if that does anything for us. And it knocks another 3,000 things out. So just remember, that's a good little tool you can use, okay? Now, we've already made this much more manageable of a search than the original, but there's more that we can do. So in the world of the librarians, we talk about the scope of the research. Now, the scope is like all of the limitations or parameters that are put on the research that you're doing. So like we know that part of the scope is your topic. So like let's say you have euthanasia. Okay, we know we have to search euthanasia. We know we have to search for peer-reviewed academic articles. We know we're only allowed to have from the last 5 years. So all those things are the scope of the research. Scope sometimes can be narrow or wide. This one, we're going kind of narrow in our scope. Oops, I hit the back button. We're going kind of narrow in our scope here. So that way we can really kind of key in on what our particular topic is, right? So now down the left, these are your best friends here, right? So when you have these refine your results here, first one I like to go to is availability. On the shelf means you have to go to a library and get it. We don't want to do that. You're probably researching at home, 2 a.m, working on this on yourself. Obviously, you can't go to the library, right? Also, you're not going to find peer-reviewed articles on the shelf in the library. Those are pretty much all going to be online, right? And so we're going to put available online as a filter. And you see it kicks some stuff out, right? We're going to do open access. I like that because there shouldn't be any barriers between you and the information. You see? Go to open access, kicks a lot of stuff out, right? Now, remember, your professor says, hey, you got to have peer-reviewed journals. Well, here we go. We have a filter just for that. So now you don't have to worry about if it's peer-reviewed or not because we have that filter selected. Now, as you're building your filters, I want you to click Remember All Filters. When they go yellow, that means they're locked in. So as you go around here and do stuff, it's not going to mess around with you and mess up your your search results by, like, if you come back and look at it again and you're missing some of your filters, just key those in as you go. So the first thing I like to do when I start at the availability is available online, open access, peer review. Okay. Now, resource type, let's just go ahead and do articles, because you see there's reviews and there's review articles. This is when people write about other people's articles, and that's not what we're looking for. We want the actual articles themselves. So we click on the article. Okay, and that cuts us down a couple, right? And we remember our filters. Now we know that our last big part of the scope here is creation date. So we know that it's from 2020 to 2025, last 5 years. So we can just go put 2020 in there and then refine that result again. Right? And so now with just these 5 filters, we're really at the beginning of that scope, right? No, are these perfect articles? We don't know. We got to find that out. But we know we have 176 articles that are at least going to fit the scope of my research from that original over 800,000 something. Now you can play around with some of these other filters to see what you get. Another one I like to look at sometimes is the subject. So you see when you click it, there's all kinds of stuff. There's one about ethics. There's one about decision making, capital punishment itself, medical ethics. You can see these little subtopics. So, like, let's say we're interested in the ethics one. We can click on that. And now this looks like it's taking a little bit of time because I'm trying to talk you guys through it as I do it. But this is the kind of thing when you get comfortable doing it, you can do this like 30 seconds, right? As you get more familiar with databases, you'll go in, you'll put your search terms in, you'll click your filters, and the next thing you know, you have this nice manageable list. Okay. And so you now have this, and then you're going to go through and just see things that look good. And so what you're going to have to do, now you start poking in and see what you have. So, like, let's say we go to this one, the ethics of capital punishment and such. You see there it says like a view online, full text availability. You see how there's 2 links. So remember where I said you're searching all 156 databases at once? This shows that that same article is in 2, so it doesn't matter which one you pick. But this kind of like shows my point of why I like doing that other search, because, or doing the big search, because, like, how do I know these 2 out of the whole 156 databases? How would I know to search for these 2, right? So it searches for me. So when you want to look at the article, you just click on one of the links, and it gets you to the article. Okay. Now, what's cool here is you got your article information. It tells you about the abstract. I like reading the abstract first. Abstract's like a movie preview, right? You got a 2-hour movie coming out. They give you a 2-minute like commercial for it that kind of gives you an idea of what's going on, but doesn't spoil the whole thing. That's kind of how the abstract is. So read that first. A lot of times I like to jump down and like read their conclusion as well. It's a long one, right? So I'll read the conclusion. Now, why am I reading the conclusion first? Like you might see in your ethics class or your composition class, your English, right? The conclusion like wraps up the big points of your essay, right? So this is like kind of wrapping up the big points of their paper. So like if I read the abstract and I read the conclusion and I don't see anything that's like kind of hitting on what I want to look for, I might just pass this article. But if I do, then I'll go back and kind of skim through and see what they got. Okay. Now it's really cool too if you like this article and they've got good information in it. They've got sources, on the back of their article too, so you can look up some of these things as long as they fit your scope. You have to make sure they fit within the right timeline. So some of this is like older information, so you're not going to be able to kind of use it for your thing, but you can see if it fits the scope of your research and then kind of use those as well. So you have that. Now, when you're on this page here, before you close out of it, a couple cool things that you could do is one, so like let's say I like this article and I want to save it for later, look at it, go back to do more searching. You see this little push pin thing here? We're going to push that and then it flutters away, and I'll show you where that goes later. right? And then before we go, we can grab the citation here. So you see right here what says citation. You can click on that, and you have a list of citation styles. Now we're using APA in this class. So you can click the APA citation here, and you can copy it to your clipboard, right? Now what you do is you go and you open up your Word document where you're starting your references page, where it's going to have references in bold at the top. And then you paste that in here, right? And so that is the citation for that article. Now you have to make sure this is set up appropriately. So what you want to do is you want to drag and highlight it. You go to the paragraph here, and you will do your double space because everything should be double space. But we want to have a hanging indent. So you go to the special and you do hanging, and you click OK. And that's a double space hanging indent, right? And so you build that as you go for your articles. For the three different ones, right? And so you go back, let's say you find a different article. Let's say we like this one. And so we get the citation for it. We copy it to our, let's on APA. Okay, good. We copy it to our clipboard. Now this one starts with an A. This is important because our reference list should go in alphabetical order. And so this one's a G. So we just pop that down. We click this one in here. We paste it. All right. And then we go back and we do the paragraph thing. We do the double space. We do the hanging indent. We'll click this thing to not add space between paragraphs of other kinds. That's why there's like a bigger gap than we're supposed to have here. So then we can close that down. And you see, now we have two of them on there, and you need three. And then the only thing you have to do is like match this stuff up to the resources that I provided to you in the APA module to make sure they fit. Because one thing that I'm seeing with these is the titles aren't correct in the capitalization of it, because APA for the titles of the print work, like books and articles and things like that on the references page, they only want you to capitalize the first word after a colon, and any like proper nouns in there. I think dementia would count because it's the name of the disease. And then the rest get lowercase. So same thing down here. You see how it's all, this would just be only the would be capitalized in this particular one, right? And so you have to make sure the little like rules match up. And then that's why I have them. If you look at that sheet, it has it on the last page. It has the rules for each element. Just match it up and make sure it looks good. And then you can turn that in, and then you get one more, and you have your three, and you have your references, and then you turn that in. Okay. Then we close out of this. Now, remember I said I would show you where that thing went when I pushed the pin. You see up here by my name, when I push this pin here, this is my pinned list, and it's taking a second to load, so we'll wait. Okay. And so there's that article that we looked at that we pinned. And so every time I do like a demo, I pin like a resource just to show people that until you unpin them, they won't go away. And as long as you can get on the internet anywhere, you can look at your source, you can log in. So that's a pretty cool feature. So I would definitely use that. And then, like I said, just make sure you're pulling your citations, make sure we're copying, we're pasting that reference page, we're checking the formatting so we don't lose points. If you're not using Microsoft Word, or if you're not using the same version of Word I have, what I did with the hanging indents, you can do in all the different programs. Just Google it. Just like, how do I put a hanging indent in like Google Docs or whatever? All that kind of stuff you guys need to know about how to use these programs. There's usually a YouTube video for it. So just Google it and look it up and see how you do it in your particular thing, because it is an expectation of APA and therefore for the assignment, okay? And so, so when you have that done, you take that reference page and then you go to this is not, oh, this is a different class. That's why. Sorry, guys. I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. It's a different class, y'all. So then you would take it and you just take that paper and you upload it here into this assignment. Okay. The final argument sources. So that's just a little bit of help there for you. Hopefully you'll find this beneficial when you're doing your research for this and for other research projects you might be doing for your classes. So as you're researching, if you have any questions, let me know. But remember, make sure 3 articles, the last 5 years, SPC databases, peer reviewed, and all you're doing, you're just looking for something in there that helps you make your case. So if you're saying it's unethical, grab a bit from there that you could say during your argument that kind of shows support from that article. You do 1 for each point. So that's why you have 3 articles and you have 3 points. You're trying to find one that you can put under each of your points and use that to elaborate. Okay. If you have any questions during this process, please feel free to reach out. If not, I hope this video was helpful and I look forward to seeing your guys' arguments. All right. Thank you. Have a good one.